I'm going to just kind of walk you through some of the basics of Tinkercad. And Tinkercad can be found at tinkercad.com. And this is a free software. You don't have to download it. It's a web-based software. So it should work on most computers. I've tried it on several computers and it's been working great. It may seem a little rudimentary at first, but it's actually pretty robust once you kind of get the hang of some of the different tools. And so what you'll do is you'll go to tinkercad.com and you'll make an account. You can log in with your Google account or you can just make a new account. I made a new account and and then so this is what it'll look like after you make an account. I of course have projects here that I've been working on and I've saved here. So you will not have these yet, but it should look something like this. And so to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new design. And so I'll click on that. And then it's going to open the Tinkercad window. And what I would do is just spend some time kind of working with some of the basic tools and understanding kind of the layout. We have different, this is the work plane here in the middle. You can, right click and move around like that. If you have a mouse that has a scroll wheel, that's kind of handy too. I would recommend using a mouse for this. It is kind of extra challenging just if you only have a mouse pad or a touchpad rather. So a mouse really helps here. I'm actually using an Apple mouse, and I don't like it because there's not a scroll wheel, and the scroll wheel does help kind of maneuver the plane around. Um, but you can kind of see here's the what we're going to be working on here. And over in the top right hand or top left hand corner, this is the file name. So you can change that just by clicking on it, and we could say test for video is what we'll do here. And along the right hand margin here, you have access to a lot of different types of pre-built shapes. I've been finding that you can make an incredible array of different shapes starting with these shapes. There are other options in here for text and numbers that you can put in there and manipulate, as well as different types of characters and shapes and other types of connectors and different types of shapes. But for our purposes, we're just going to be working with the basic shapes here. And so what we're going to do is we'll start here with just a few shapes. And the way that you start with a shape is just to click it and hold and just drag it into the plane like that. Now, once you have it in the plane, some of these other options are going to open up here. And these options here are a little different for each shape. And so you kind of have to sort of experiment and see what each shape has to offer in terms of its options. This is obviously just a basic cylinder, but I can, by changing the sides, the number of planes on the side, I can make it a different shape. If I want to make it really, really round, I can increase the number of sides, and that basically makes it so you can't even see the sides anymore. The bevel, here, let me zoom in a little bit on this here. The bevel is going to, just do what it says. It creates a bevel here on the edge. Now, if you want a little bit more of a rounded surface, you can increase the segment line here, or the segment option, and that'll kind of round it off. Okay, so now I have this kind of rounded off cylinder. And so let me show you, a few of these other options here. If you when you roll over the cylinder, you'll see these parameters kind of open. These are, I can click and drag on these and make this shape a little different. So I can, pull both sides at the same time here. I can grab this one and just pull in one direction. If I grab that top one, it's going to go straight up. Okay. If I click this little arrow here, it's actually going to lift off of the plane, and you can see it's kind of hovering there. And this is helpful if you are going to be stacking different shapes, and I'll kind of show you how to do that in a minute. Um, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this back at 0, and that'll bring it back to where I had it before, uh, or actually not. So let me bring this back down to the plane that it was sitting on. Okay, one more. Okay, there we go. Okay. The nice thing with this is that you can just click and drag and make this a different size. Or if you have a very specific type of shape that you want to make, like a very specific size, you can actually highlight those and then type in these numbers. So you can say like, okay, this is going to be 50 millimeters by, 50 millimeters or something. And that'll make it perfectly that size. Same thing with the height. So I can click on that and I say, okay, I want that to be, whatever, 15. And this is really handy not only for making precise shapes, but also for replicating shapes. So if you want to, say for our texture rollers, if you're going to make some texture rollers, you probably want the inner shape, the hole, to be, the same size, on each one. So you don't have to make a new dowel rod for every single one. Okay, so on this particular computer, if I hit Shift and then right click, I can move the plane this way too. And so that on if you have a scroll wheel, you can just hold the scroll wheel down and do that. But on this particular mouse, I have to hold down Shift. Okay, so now we have a shape here. And then what I'm going to do is let's just try to bring in another shape here. So now I have this little um, sort of a domed, or this round roof is what it's called. Now I can stretch these shapes by dragging like that, or I can go like that. I can make it longer. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to stack and combine the shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to bring this over onto this little disc here, this puck shape. Now you can kind of see that the bottom plane of it is actually within the shape. So I can bring it through the bottom here. I can put it right through the middle. Let's see if I stretch this out. Now I can, whoa. Okay, what did I do? Okay, so let's put this back in there. Okay, not sure what happened there, but okay, so now I have this shape in here. And what I want to do is I'm just going to position this up here kind of near the top. Since I'm going to combine these, it's okay if it sits down into the bottom of the puck here. So now you can see that it's not centered in the object, and so if you want to center the object in both directions or both objects, there's this really nice feature called Align. And so what you do is you highlight, click and drag and highlight and select all the different parts. Okay, and then this option right here, when you roll over it, each tool when you roll over it, it'll show you its purpose, what it's and a keyboard shortcut. So what we're going to do here is align this. Now I can certainly eyeball this and get it close, but this will actually make it so that it's perfectly aligned. So I click on Align, and these different little options are going to come up here. And so these options here will align, and it gives you kind of a preview over what it's going to do to the shape. And so each time I roll over these, it's gonna show me what's gonna happen to the shape. So if I click on this button here, it's gonna move it there, and then and I could click this one, it'll align it there. But what I want to do is center it. So I'm gonna click this button here, and that'll align it this way, left to right. If I click this other one here, now it's going to align it in the center. Okay, so now I have this thing that's perfectly in the center. Okay, and so then I just can right click off of this here, and now I have these two shapes that are in the center. Okay, now maybe I've decided that I want to make this kind of puck shape a little bit smaller. And so I can, again, I can just drag it like that, or I can say, okay, I want this to be 40 instead of 50. And, okay, and now I need to align it again. So I'll select them again, align, and then I hit this one and this one, and I have aligned these shapes again. Okay, so, um, now, if I want to say that I'd like to manipulate the whole thing together as one piece, what I then need to do is I need to select the parts that I want to combine, and I'm going to go up to this tool here. It's called Group, and it kind of gives you a little preview here, so you can see it's grouping this little square in the circle there. So once I hit that, it's going to combine and make a single shape. Okay, now you can still see the planes there, but now this is a single shape that now I can manipulate this whole thing. Okay, so now this is basically one shape. Now if you change your mind, you can select and ungroup here using this option here. But for now, I'm going to leave this the way it is. Okay, so now I have this kind of funny looking shape here. So now let's see. Let's bring in a cube here. And I would like to show you how to combine a third shape and then cut a hole into something. So you can see this cube here has all the normal options that I just showed you with the expanding and things like that. But it also has some other options here that you can change the radius of the square, and so you can kind of make these shapes here. You know, you can make it so it's got more of a angled edges here. And then in this particular shape, there are a little toggle bar here that will change the width and the height, okay? Which is a little redundant because you can also do the same thing here. So let's see if we just kind of make this into a little bit more of an elongated shape here. And let's make that even narrower. And then I'm going to just kind of pick this up here, and I'm going to, let's see if we just kind of put it in there. And I'm going to bring this up like that. Okay. And so now we have this shape, and now I can manipulate the shape inside without changing the outside shape. Okay, so I can move this in and out, and you know, without changing that orange shape, the original shape. Okay, so let's see what I can do here. Let's make this a little bit more kind of almost like a blimp shape here. Okay, so now let's see what I can do if I can. I'm going to try to position this. Okay, I think what I need to do. So now this is an interesting little problem here because I've combined the two shapes here. So now in order to center this red shape on this shape, I'm going to have to ungroup these. So I'm going to select those, and I'm going to go up here to ungroup. Okay, so now they're back into three different shapes. And now this will allow me to select just these two. Then I can go to align. And then now I can align this shape here. Okay, these two shapes. Okay, so if I didn't ungroup that, this would center this somewhere down in here because it's looking at the whole shape here. Okay, so now I have this kind of funny looking shape. And now I'm going to, I'm going to show you what to do, how to cut a hole into something. So let's say that now I want this to be a void. Okay, so I don't want it to be this thing that's projecting out. I'm going to select that, and most of the shapes have an option here called hole. And what this does is I click on that, and it will make a hole from the, you know, so basically just make like a negative shape. Then once you can still see it. Once you select these, in order to make it a true hole, then what you do is you group all those objects together and you'll see this hole. Okay. Now I have one particular shape here that is, I can manipulate this whole shape. So I can, let's say I make this longer, okay, and now I can, change this around and work with this. So, this could be a great way to generate ideas for sculptures, and so all kinds of cool stuff that you can do here. Okay, and then one other thing is I'm going to show you how to I'm going to show you how to duplicate the shape and rotate, which is something that it is kind of a really interesting tool because it can make the sorry about that zooming in and out. This mouse is kind of doing some weird things. So anyway, what you're going to do to duplicate is you select the object, and then you hit Command D on a Mac, and you get Control D on a PC. Then what you can do is you can make another duplicate. Okay, so it does what it says, duplicates the object. But let me show you one way that's kind of interesting. What you can do is select it again, Command D, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these little arrows right here. Okay, and I can rotate if I can find the arrow. Okay, so now I have this duplicated thing, but I'm rotating here. Okay, and then so that's going to make this other shape that is a copy, a rotated copy of the first shape. Okay, still has the hole, but it's starting to make some kind of interesting patterns here in the roof here. Okay, same thing. Once I select that, if I group these together, now this is one object that I can then manipulate. Okay, so so that's just kind of a quick tutorial of kind of some of the really basic tools. It can get really in depth, but just to kind of keep this video short, that's a kind of a little starter on how to use Tinkercad. So what I would do is just jump into it, get yourself an account on Tinkercad, and just start playing around, and it will save your files automatically. So if I go back to in order to get back to the dashboard, you go up here to Tinkercad logo, and you click on that, and this is going to open up my dashboard, and you'll see right here, this is the file that we just made. Okay, so just take some time getting used to it and see what you can do.